What is happening, everybody? I hope you've had a good...
Back in like 2005, something like that.
I think my first comment was, oh, good, it's Friday Junior.
It's Friday, Junior. It's podcast day. It's payday.
And then you come out doing a like, doesn't matter how you feel about the situation.
My name is Raff. We're always before we started the podcast because we just want to talk about it. We want to talk about music and just share those stories and experience. This is my co-host, Carl, a.k.a. The Beer Buddy. He is hailing you.
This sort of weird era where they're sort of right in that post-grunge.
Look, you're fighting the good fight in today's world. My war was fought 40 years ago, really.
We are the two dudes who talk music, and we are here. Hey, I'm too quick on that air horn button, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, that is amazing. I love it. You're second on the dude. Fantastic.
What is happening, everybody? It is me, the Reverend Raff, here with my good friend Kyle, aka the Beer Buddy. We are the two dudes who talk music, and we're here for another podcast episode for all you amazing people. Now, today we have a band that we recently found out about, but they've been around for fucking ages. We found out about them, and we did a reaction to them over on Metal Ruse. I don't know if that one's gone up yet. You can go and catch it if it hasn't gone up, but whatever. You can go and catch that one at whenever point if it goes up. If not, just go and fucking check them out anyway. But look, before we dive in there, mate, how are you doing? How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. I'm good. My shoulder's slowly getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Managed to get out to the last Martyr show, as I know you did it.
As did I. Amazing band, amazing show. All the bands. I don't know who else was playing on the lineup that you were at?
We actually have that band called. I think it's called No Way Out. They were a punk outfit that we'll be having on the podcast very shortly. Really cool dudes. High energy. Lots of sub drops in their music. Got that sort of yellow cardy kind of real, just awesome fucking solid punk. Just solid fucking really punk. And then they actually had two like super group kind of deal things where they and they played the entirety of Hybrid Theory.
Ah, awesome.
And then they played the entirety of fucking Toxicity.
Fucking wow.
And then they threw in a couple of extra ones from System of a Down as well. And mate, I tell you what, the Crowbar was sold out 2 weeks beforehand. Yep. The opening band had a really decent crowd. The last Martyr had the room pretty much full. By the end of it, there was no fucking standing room in the Crowbar, but you would have had at least 150, 200 people plus looking at the last Martyr, or maybe more, looking at the last Martyr. And then, the same for the opening band. I thought the concept was such a fucking good idea to have two local bands on first. Yeah. And then have that big thing at the end. I think it was such a helpful.
That's good.
And Catastrophe, the lot that organised it, I'm sure you'll be seeing them on this very soon too. Like, so much came out of going to that show last night.
Ah, that's amazing. That's so cool. I mean, up here we had it was at Tomcat's show opened with Citadel. Amazing fucking band from up this way. Like, those guys are killing it. They've been really good for a long time now. Band called Horizon, which I don't think I've seen before, but really, really good job from those guys. They actually were using. I was asking them about it because they didn't have a bass player on stage. They were just using backing tracks. I did ask them about that. They got a new bass player coming in, but they're like, "Oh, we didn't want to." Because we're recording, we wanted him to learn the studio versions, not the live versions. And I'm like, fair enough, whatever you want to do it, that works. And then a band called Revoid, which were, again, like every band fucking killed it. Shows were great. Turnout was really, really good, as it usually is at Tomcat on the weekends. And obviously, Last Martyr just absolutely killed it. Absolutely killed it. After our chat with them, when we had them on the podcast, I was super excited to see what they brought to the table in terms of the live show. A lot of hype around that, and they didn't disappoint. They did not disappoint at all.
Full.
They did. I don't know if they did this for you guys. I'm guessing they probably did, but really, really smart. I don't know who came up with this idea, but one of their songs, they handed out glow sticks.
No, they didn't do that at Sydney.
They didn't do that. Okay, they did that. So they handed out a shitload of glow sticks to everyone, and it was a genius move because A, it fit the vibe, right? But also Who doesn't want to move when they got a glow stick in their hand?
100%.
And you get a bunch of people, even if they're metalheads that don't really like rave or electronic music that would normally be associated with glow sticks, you get a bunch of metalheads with glow sticks in their hands and they will dance whatever. They're not going to stand still, right? So
I put a
genius
put a
move.
glow stick in any adult's hand, they turn back into a 2-year-old.
Genius move on their part. Really, really
no.
smart. But amazing
get
show. It was great to meet. It was great to meet them in person. They absolutely do get it. The Last Martyr is a band full of people that understand they understand music, they understand promotion, they understand the importance of the live show, they understand the importance of involving the band, the crowd. They have every aspect nailed, and they're only going to continue to get better. And
super fucking nice in person too.
Yes, incredibly nice people. So if you get on the ground, get on in with Last Martyr now, like start listening to them now, because one day you're going to be able to say that you were there at those small shows, at those things.
You're not going to be paying $30 a ticket. They're going to be like $200-300 a ticket.
Yeah. So anyway, look, let's dive in there. So today, as I mentioned, we have a band that we kind of came across fairly recently, but they've been kicking around since the late 2000s. They have done incredible work. They have toured all across the country with some amazing lineups, both local and international bands. They have played Big Day Out. They have gone over to Europe and kicked ass over there as well. They have just released their brand new album, The Penny Drop. We have with us today MAMMAL. We are talking with Ezekiel Ox. Let's get into it. Thank you very much for joining us today, mate. As mentioned in the intro there, we have Ezekiel Ox from MAMMAL joining us today. How you doing there, mate?
I'm really good. I am flying high on the response to the album, which is one of the things we're going to talk about today, I assume. We're just stoked with that. And on top of that, I've started my my sort of legal career with the Aboriginal Legal Service in New South Wales, which has just been absolutely fantastic. I've been there for over a month now, and I've been volunteering there for years anyway. So there's a lot to talk about, and there's a lot going positive in the Ox clan at the moment, and even a massive family celebration in Melbourne next week for my son's cousin Lee, which is really exciting. So yeah, I'm really good. Thanks for asking.
That's great.
Awesome.
That's awesome, man. And I got like the new album, yeah, as you mentioned there, like honestly, been absolutely loving it. I don't know if the video's actually been released yet, if Metal Ruse have dropped it or not. We did a reaction just a couple of weeks ago to the Keanu Reeves song and video, because despite you guys having been around for a while, and both Kyle and myself having been in the music scene for, sort of 15 odd years now, somehow you guys had not been on our radar in that time. Like we'd missed it. Now, wow. I'm gobsmacked by that, because everyone I've spoken to is like, yeah, MAMMAL, they're fucking sick. Like
that's what happened to me last night when I was with my friends.
But somehow it's just like missed both Kyle and myself.
Oh, we were too busy with our heads up our ass, just going metal.
What kind of metal though? What kind of metal? Like I think Keanu Reeves is a good example. Probably one of the more metal moments of the album. The chorus of that song is quite committed to it's got that weight, So
definitely.
Yeah, we definitely fuck with metal. So
Oh, dude, 100%. You guys are metal. Like,
I've been sitting at work.
I'm disappointed with myself.
I've been sitting at work for the last couple of weeks, and then every 5 minutes in my head, it's just Keanu Reeves is in all my favorite movies.
Oh, dude.
And it just it will not get out of my head. It's great.
What I'll say about that, Raff, is that it's definitely one of the more bizarre lyrics that I've written in my career, and it's naive simplicity. It's literally just obviously as you heard listing. Well, it's true. Like I do like Keanu Reeves movies, but then also going on to list the sort of basic plot of Point Break. It came really quickly in the studio after Pete, the guitar player, we were freestyling. So the way we created the Penny Drop was we had 30 tracks, which Pete had written riffs on click tracks. He sent those to Zane. Zane turned them into songs. And then by the time they were at that stage, I was flying down to Melbourne. We got into a rehearsal room with the band set up so we could jam stuff and see how it felt live. But then I pumped the demos through the PA and just freestyle over them. And Pete was singing about Keanu Reeves. And I was like, okay, I'll do that next. Because I did 14 hours of freestyle to get the album. And it came out really well. Yeah, it was good. I didn't have much left by the end of it vocally, but it was worth it. really like to contact it in that really sort of almost, it's not really writing, it's almost channeling something. It's really impossible by the intentions to say where ideas came from. I remember certain ones like me coming up with the Moscow hook. That was really big. We were like, wow, that works. And then a lot of the other stuff is just getting different levels of what works, and then Pete takes it away and edits it. So Keanu Reeves is about. Then what happens, once I freestyle, a lot of it's nonsense. A lot of it's just sounds, screams, rhythms that I want to play with. And then there's lyrics sticking out of those rhythms, maybe, and maybe sometimes not. Maybe sometimes there's full verses. But then I go back to like a reverse crossword, and I kind of find a way to make it make sense. Some of it already has a very clear, politic, which is important to MAMMAL. And some of it I have to kind of work into it, because we do want MAMMAL to be, a music to sort of listen to as we revolt, music that we listen to as we show solidarity with those who are vulnerable. And we like to punch up, and we're not pulling the ladder up behind us. So yeah, like Keanu Reeves is about that time, that sort of point in humanity we've reached where we don't really know. Well, there's large cohorts of people that, in my view, and it is just my view, struggling to understand that there's fundamental realities, and it could be a sort of abstract reality about jurisdiction. We see like sovereign citizen movements where there seems like a lack of understanding about the power of violence that the state has, or it could be that we live on a flat earth, which we see people convinced of. These things are really concerning, because as humans, if we can't agree on the rule book, and we all know that the rules are rigged, but at least if we can agree on the rule book, then we can check out which rules are really need to be changed. And of course, there's rules that would remain post-revolution. We don't want to be running around raping and killing people. We don't want to have genocide, war crimes, all these sorts of things. So, but what we're seeing is sexual assault, murder, chaos, war crimes. We're seeing genocide. We're seeing those things in Gaza right now. We've seen it on Australian soil. And we can't fix them unless we agree they're happening. And the rise of Trump, the rise of Johnson, the rise of Morrison, these morons, you wouldn't have a beer with these people, at least someone like John Howard, an absolute bastard, but he had a valid position as a conservative, as a right winger, and you can sort of attack it. Tony Abbott was similar. You could sort of attack him because you knew what he was about. But, Trump, Johnson and Morrison are just about power. They're about gaslighting because they're incompetent. They're not even, fit to rule even within their ideology. So that song's about how do we have it if we can't agree, like trees are real,
Yeah, I love that line.
Some things are real.
That's
and you're so right. If we can't, and this is, I've always said, the smartest thing the government ever done was create the internet and use it as a tools to divide and conquer on things that have been known about for so long. We argue about the most inane shit that we can't even get to the crux of. We can't even agree on basic shit. How are we going to fix the actual problems of the world?
But you raise a good point, Beer Buddy, about the internet. I mean, it is used to divide and to polarize and to misinform. That's one thing it does. The same way that the government used newspapers to do the same thing, the same way they use the television. I think it's more about how we can use. We're gonna face the propaganda, and you can see it in the way people move around and the way they act. But the internet is also useful in a lot of ways, so just as newspapers can be if you need to tell people about where bushfires are or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not that people don't need information. It's just that there's always let's use the pandemic lockdowns as a really good example of what you've brought up there, Beer Buddy, because let's say that people needed to do something to stop the spread, right? The thing was they then took people like the police and Peter Dutton and certain people took it as an opportunity to send police into vulnerable communities where they should have been sending nurses and they should have been sending ambulances, So that there's always going to be some cynical, reactionary, right-wing force that will jump on a crisis to try to bend it to their will. And then it's up to us through mutual care, through solidarity movements, through supporting the elderly and the vulnerable in those times, as the left to push back against that. It's a dance. It's not, it's politics. It's not like you're right or you're wrong. It's just about power. I think I'm right. But at the same time, what I want is the power to be able to show people how right our ideas are. You know, like Guillotine the Billionaires and On With the Show. Slightly histrionic, sure, but I think a lot of fun. And you know, I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't know if I'm sorry if I've gone on too long, but I think it's fascinating what you said.
Not at all. I mean, I love that there's so much depth in a song that on the surface can, you know, is a bit sort of silly and, you know what I mean? Like on this, you know, on the surface of it, someone may listen to it and like the whole bit about Keanu Reeves and everything, and it's like, all right, cool. It's a bit almost like
but also
Psycho Stick vibes, you know what I mean? And like the band that they're kind of doing songs about like Bruce Campbell and whatever, and it's like, okay, that's cool, and it's fun and it's a very catchy song, but then there's to have so much depth behind it as well is absolutely amazing. Like I love that there's that much gone into it there.
Well, the Keanu Reeves part adds the depth. Sorry, that's why I blurted out what I was saying so I can remind myself. Because it links it to the film The Matrix, you know, which is part of this idea that, well, I mean, they were great movies and they were about revolutionary politics. They had the music of some great bands, you know, Rage Against the Machine, my favourite band, being in there. So it's all linked to that culture. But the idea that the red pill, blue pill, the term red pill has come to mean something quite... quite, you know, damaging in a way. Like, I mean, a lot of there's been incel massacres with people that self-identify as being red-pilled, where they've gone out and they've killed, you know, people because they can't find a relationship, and that's that crisis in masculinity, the crisis in masculinity, you know, which has been brought on by the patriarchy, telling men that they should have to provide and be in the home, or that they have that this is what being a man is. You got to be strong, shouldn't cry, all that bullshit you get fed as a boy. And then men now are getting served up what is natural, which is gay, racial, and women's liberation. More power to them, and they're feeling lost because they've been taught their whole lives that it's about them being the leader. But you don't always have to be the leader as a bloke. You can sit back and you can have a life where you don't have kids. You can have a life where you don't live with your kids, where you always live with your kids. You can be whatever you want to be as long as you're, you know, there's a level to which I see that crisis in masculinity coming through a lot of those incel, red-pilled. So that song is about that. If you're getting the worst information, if you're being told as a bloke that the reason that you can't find a relationship is because women are fucked, well, that's not actually real. That's some things are real and that's not it. So it is all those tying those threads in to get that detail that you were talking about, Raff, which is why I wanted to mention down to the choice of the actor, I think.
Wow. I mean, I hadn't even considered that. Like, thank you for like adding that insight to it, because I had this is what I appreciate. This is why we like talking to people about this stuff, to get some of that extra, you know?
Yeah, can I say it's an interesting sort of bigger macro, so micro being the one song on this one album of the body of work of MAMMAL. The macro part is that most people don't care, in my experience as a vocalist who has written like hundreds of thousands of words of lyrics. Most people are there for the groove. I reckon in my sort of anecdotal conversational experience, say people at the merch desk, maybe 20% of them will mention that they really liked a certain lyric and they've thought about what it meant and what it meant to them, and they might reflect on it with me for maybe 30 seconds or a minute or whatever, and we'll tap. But most people are just like, that was fucking sick, Zane's sick, the grooves are sick, Pete Solo's a killer, love your raps, and they don't actually listen. And I think that's true across the board, and that's okay, because for a lot of people, music is about something that transcends something as earthly as the language. And it is actually just about a connection to something bigger, that maybe it could just be a connection to their body. Because one thing MAMMAL demands is to dance. So I'm happy with that.
100%.
You know, and that can be really positive, just to lose all of that thinking and just get in your body, like you're sitting in an office all day, or you dig a hole all day, same movement, and you get to move your body. I think that's anthropological. It's really important that people feel music however they want, because music and dance before we had language. So that's what we know from anthropology.
Yeah.
And I mean that's why, especially now in heavy metal, you're looking at the rise of bands like, we've always had Rammstein. You know, we've had Rammstein, and I don't know what German, but I can sing you Rammstein songs because I didn't even know. I don't know what it means. I got no idea. It just fucking works.
The Who are doing that as well. We're bringing sort of non-English speaking bands, non-English singing bands, and also I think the new MAMMAL album. You might remember the song "Make It Count," which is sort of buried at the back of the record at number 11. And it starts with that sort of very tribal hoo ha hoo ha. There's a lot of ooh and hoo ha and ethereal singing ARs and things that aren't lyrics on this record, which is something we really focused on because we wanted it to just hit really hard. I mean, Pete and Zane did such a good job on the songs. Me and Kay came in and finished them off. And I mean, what's your favourite? Like, if you listen to the record, what's standing out to you from the record?
Moscow was like, I had to go back and listen to that a bunch of times because I really, really liked that one. Obviously, Keanu Reeves just keeps sticking in my head.
Slings and Arrows for me.
Yeah,
loved that one.
It's a big hook, that one. That was one of the only parts of the record that was written in the studio. The chorus to that was just bare going in, and everything else was covered with vocals. I had everything down, and I just kept going, I don't know about that chorus. And then we were in the second week of the sessions. We did 2 weeks of sessions with Tyson to get the vocals done. It was actually really cool. The vocals to the record, I was surprised how efficient it was. Sometimes it takes a while, sometimes it's quicker, but it's never super quick to get that much work done on a studio record. And we did 2 weeks in a row in Melbourne, me flying down for 3 days, and I recorded Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we did like editing and comping on Thursdays. So really, we did an extra day, but that was half a day. So it was like 4.5 days of maybe 8 hours in those days. So that it took to do the vocals, which was great because Tyson did Dead, our previous single. But I was surprised how quickly it went. I think it was probably due to the preparation. We had time for the first time in MAMMAL's career. Before that, we'd always just been bang, write it in the studio. This time we took a year and a half. We had obviously the pandemic to deal with like everyone else. We had the member change, moving into Cade's period of writing with us. It was a really complicated time for the band, and I'm super proud of what we've achieved internally so that we can give everyone the tunes.
Well, I mean, it is a really weird drop when you look at it, and I watched it last night, I think it was, or the night before last. I mean, we'll talk about the history a little bit. So, MAMMAL brought out their first EP in 2007.
2007 sounds about right.
Yep. If I'm looking at I'm just looking at internet stuff here. The internet is not always right. Yeah. But by the time you had brought out your, what was it, 1, 2, 3, your 4th album, you would manage to score yourself a slot. All right, Big Day Out.
Yeah, that was definitely a good time. We were in Kindred writing, and we got the call from our agent, and that was a really good day for us. It was the one Neil Young did, and it was awesome. We got to see the Prodigy 5 times, get paid for it. That was pretty cool. Getting paid to see the Prodigy.
Mate, I mean, even then, you had an awesome slot. It was a late evening, sort of going when the sun's going down, sort of slot.
Yeah,
those big bullhorns were awesome.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most momentum the band ever had at that point. You could probably if it was a graph of momentum and notoriousness, and the fact that the name was just being on the lips of anyone who saw it again, it sort of peaked around that Sydney show for us. We did some good work after it, but we were falling apart by then, you see. So we'd gone through the COG tours, we'd done some touring with Carnival, we'd started getting on festivals, Triple J started playing some stuff. So it all just went really well. And then, we struggled towards the end, and that's why we ended up separating, in late 2010, which was a really difficult time for the band. Pete and Zane kept working together. Nick went off and did Subatari Knives. I formed the Nerve, Overreactor. put out a Fury album, country album. Bust did my hip hop sabbatical for a couple of years, and everyone went off in their own things, and then eventually came back together in 2017. So the history of MAMMAL is really combustible, and that's going back to what I said to answer the last question, just as a theme. I think the process on the penny drop was really difficult at times. We went back to old patterns which were negative, but this time, I think with Aid's sort of presence, so someone reminding us that it's not the same, we managed to get it back on track and be healthier as a band. And I think you can hear it in the album. It's cohesive, it's strong, it's all killer, no filler, and it's bold, and we're super proud of it. So I don't really, it's nice putting out an album and not giving a fuck what anyone thinks, because I know that we left it all on the floor, and it is really good. The best shit we put out
shows.
Such a meaty album. It's one of those ones, we say this on the podcast all the time, though, and especially with resurgence of the internet and Spotify and stuff like that, people don't digest albums anymore. They don't need to justify their purchase, therefore they don't digest and appreciate what they bought. You bought an album back in the day, it cost you $20-$30, and that was your 4 weeks, because when I was talking about this with a friend last night, one album is 2 months of Spotify when you think about it. Do you know what I mean? And that's unlimited music. But in saying that, I feel like the ability of people writing really meaty albums like that is slowly going out.
Yeah,
it just goes to prove that.
I reckon it'll last in rock. That's what I reckon. I reckon, and this is for total, I'm not some guy that sits around fucking analysing Spotify algorithms or anything like that. I wouldn't have a fucking clue. I'm just going with my instinct, right? The instinct is that what I know of rock and roll fans, whether they're fans of the support band that we're playing with that day or fans of the band we're supporting that day, Kiss fans, they were belligerent towards us. They fucking love their band, right? And that's the same with MAMMAL fans. If you're a MAMMAL fan, if you've got the Whale Tail shirt, you're fucking in. And when you guys eventually get to see us, because I know you just found us, which show will be coming on the tour?
Raff will be at the Queensland and I'll be at the Sydney show.
Too easy. So you get double coverage. You got 2 points of reference.
Absolutely.
So, so I think that's why the album for the rock band will survive, because things like guitarists being able to build like Billy Corgan, like Tom Morello, like Wes Borland, being able to build a body of work with solos, tones. There's still going to be guitar players who lean towards rock and roll because of its freedom, because of its link to, folk music that people understand. I think that rock fans will want albums, and our fans have shown they do, and they are, they're deep into the track listing. Everyone's listening up until 5 days, and so
that's good.
I want to sort of stay optimistic at least, because our genre is about listening and absorbing and listening to Pete's solos as well, or someone might get into the lyrics. The drummers, like Zane's performance is worth any drummer, in my view. And I really wanted to say this. I was thinking about it when we were listening to the album. Me and my partner Samantha, who you guys met briefly off air, we were saying last night on the way down, we went to see Jim Owen, and he was hilarious. If anyone gets a chance to see him on this next tour, he is as funny as ever. But we were listening to it on the way down, and I was saying to Sam, I feel like it's Zane's record, because he got given all these riffs and he put them together into songs. I then freestyled over them. But then his performance is so, at times, like savage and just untamed, but overall just leaning into groove. It's AC/DC like in its sort of elite
certain parts, but even then there are some parts in there that I could consider black metal with the way the tone, with the way the feel and the tone of the song goes and stuff like that. You keep on saying freestyling. Now, how much of this was written in a book, and how much of this did you just do in a studio? What would be the percentage, would you say, on the 12 tracks?
Yeah, to qualify that, so some of the stuff is perfect when it's done, and I just re-recorded it with the lyrics that I freestyled. That amount that I did in those first 2 7-hour, 14 hours of freestyle to get the record, that would have been, I reckon, under 20%, high teens, right? Probably. I'm thinking that around that. and then the rest, the rhythms, the musical part of the freestyle, my response to the riff, what my some sounds, some words, that is the rest of it. And then that goes into a book. That's when I have to sit down, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And find the right word. But then once I've found the right words, I need to work around it to make sure it says the thing that it's saying. So it's a reasonably complicated back end process linguistically. And I have everything from thesauruses, rhyming dictionaries, synonym lists on the internet, antonym lists on the internet, simile, analogy, using opposites, opposition, Star Wars, Shakespeare, night and day. People love that shit. So it's all sorts of strategies you can use in lyric writing to make sure that it's playing into people's preconceived ideas of story. Everyone's heard Little Red Riding Hood. So tell a story about danger in the woods. People like a story about danger in the woods, But what are the woods in that song? In this case, I would say, the War Machine. That's it. And I haven't written this song yet. This is good. Maybe I can write it for the next record. But yeah.
So it's almost the like the Hetfield like approach for things where you're in there and you're sort of coming up with like you're vibing on the music there and you're coming up with the sounds and the flow of it. Like, I'm not sure if you've seen it or not. There's the Making of the Black Album documentary where he goes in and he's like just doing like one na 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 na, like he's just kind of one na na nas to get like the melodies and the phrasing of what he's feeling for that part, and then he goes back later and tries to figure out what he wants the lyrics to be within that to work within around that idea. And obviously things get, melodies get changed or whatever as you're going through, but like I like that approach of, because as you say, like music is such a visceral primal thing, and this is why people say music's the language of the soul, right? Like it's something about it that is more than the particular language it's being presented in.
Well, I think there's also the visceral nature of music versus the quite human intellectual nature of complex linguistic storytelling. Like I said, all those ideas that are really bound up in our complexity, our sophistication as a species. I mean, look what we're doing right fucking now. We did this, it's crazy. I didn't do it. You guys didn't do it, but someone invented all this, and that's pretty cool. We are pretty cool.
It wasn't Australian that invented Wi-Fi, so we'll cop that.
Yes, but so I think you're right. Like there's a difference, and I like to put them at the back, and then you've got to be experienced, like Hendrix said. But keep that in mind. Any artist, any musician, any person, like if it looks like you'll survive it, and it feels safe, have a crack, even if it feels a little bit, like David Bowie said, always just be just with your nose above the water when you're creating, because that slight uncomfort, like be safe, but the discomfort of having to be on your tippy toes will create good art. But it takes so long too. Like I can do it quickly, but it's taken a long time to get to that point. When I was with Full Scale, I used to write lyrics, bring them to the band, and we'd match music to it. So I can still do that in certain circumstances. I just did that. I've just finished writing a new song for my sister's child, Lee, who's turning 21. Lee, happy birthday. We're coming down this weekend.
Happy birthday, Lee.
And I was blessed to be at their birth, and I've written this song called Thermite Hacksaw about them and for them for their 21st, and that was really hard to write. Like writing a song for like a bunch of people, new fans like yourself. I want people to hear it that like it, and then all the old fans. That's kind of easier than doing it. Like it's like singing for your aunties, writing it for a family member, and having to get all those things. Yeah. So I sat down then and I wrote the lyrics because I wanted to say what I wanted to say, and then I had to use my musical nous to make it as singable as it was poetic. And sometimes the singableness overtakes the poetic, and that's still poetry. And sometimes the poetry has to fit with the music more. It's always a scale and a spectrum, and it's always shifting from moment to second to hour in the studio.
That's amazing. I love that the process, and I love the depth of thought and understanding that you've got about the process as a whole and your own process in general. So many people are not that self-aware about their own musical process, even their own thought process in general in life. That's amazing. And I feel like you're like Kyle and I are just like, we're just literally, as it says in the title, we're just two dudes talking music.
May
and
as well
like,
be
and you're
NPCs
in,
at this point.
and you're like, and you're like, and I love that you're coming in and bringing like such a, like, I feel like your understanding of music is so deep and has so much philosophy to it compared to a lot of the people that are out there doing music. Like, I mean, I make music and I'm like, yeah, I like how the bass sounds, the bass go crack, bass go boom,
Yeah.
and that's cool. And that's how I make music. But
Well,
granted, like I'm not a vocalist, you know what I mean?
Because
So
I definitely have lots of the bass go boom moments. I have a shitload of them on this record.
Oh, and your bass player, by the way, sorry to jump, your bass player is a fucking beast.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It's really cool. Like, I think what you're saying though is like, I've been really blessed like in my career because I'm driven by collaboration. I can create by myself and I will do it, but eventually it always ends in collaboration. I never go into, I've recorded and released 3 tracks in my life where I wrote, recorded, engineered, mixed, and mastered them and put them out, right? They're up on Bandcamp. Now, that's it out of the 35 releases. Every other time I've had another collaboration somewhere along the line, and it's always been very intense. And so I work with people who are, well, we as groups have been really driven and we push each other. And then I've also been, I've had really good timing, meeting preparation, which is what most people call luck. If you spend time preparing for what you want and focusing on how to get it, not wishing it, not like the fucking secret, reading a book and manifest it.
Manifesting and shit.
No, not that.
Click your
not
heels,
that.
click your heels together 3 times.
Yeah, actually thinking about how to, get a bit more status in that position so that you can get what you want. Politics, community, having that all around you, and then you can eventually get what you want. Those sorts of things, they sort of happen for you. And I've been driven by people who are like wanting to crack the whip. Let's be more successful. Let's go to the UK. That was Pete. People's like, we've got a single on the TV. Let's go to the UK, and we sold out shows over there.
Fuck.
So was because that wasn't because we were lucky. That was because the film clip was fucking awesome. A TV station decided to start playing it, and then one of us had the courage and the vision to go, we should be there now while it's going off, while it is tracking off. We should go now, and then that's it. We're just a band that sells that many tickets forever over there. And he was right. And, we've been back since reforming, and it went really well over there in Camden. So those sorts of decisions are when the preparation of having the great film clip and all the work on the music, and then someone meets timing, and then someone is willing to seize on it. To do all that stuff, and that's why but also I am, neurodivergent, so I tend to go deeper and deeper and sit up till 2 a.m. thinking about it in layers that I hope people get. And then my partner Samantha listens to it and goes, "Oh, I didn't really get that from it at all. I thought it was about this." And I was like,
"Perfect." No,
yeah,
perfect.
but you know, that's the important thing.
At the end,
I don't know. Sometimes it's actually really fucking depressing. You go, "Oh, so no one will ever." So thanks for asking about it. First of all, it's weird, like because this making this album to any artists out there, whether they're painting a picture or sculpting a piece of stone or writing an album, like you went through stages of this is fucking awesome to this is getting off the rails to this is shit, and then to I am shit. And then to why are we doing this? And then out of the ashes of that, tearing yourself apart to try and make it better and better. And I mean that with Jimmy Marudis, the producer, with Forrester Saville on the mixes. We went really hard with him. And then, with Fight Fish as well. So we had this great team. But yeah, collaboration leads you to be smarter. You're constantly being challenged. Is this a good enough idea? And justify why you should have more guitar solo or why the vocal should go like this. I love that. Like, let's fucking go. We're not fucking around. Let's make some serious shit. And it's got to be brilliant, right? That's every studio I've ever been in. You can't just sit and go, we'll just write a whatever song today. It's like, no, it's got to be fucking bang, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
Everything you do, I mean, it comes out with so much conviction. I've got to ask, I was a vocalist back in the day. How do you manage to keep, because every word, every phrase, you say it with your chest. You know what I mean? Like you can feel the conviction just through the recording. Like I can only imagine how hard that would be to do live, and then with the amount of energy that would come through probably through your neurodivergency as well. It'd be like, how?
Yeah, like my mum, it's interesting. Use the word conviction. There's a couple of EPs. One's called Propaganda and one's called Cheering Bombs from Deck Chairs. I did as a solo artist called Ezekiel Ox with a guy called Stephen Smith. The reason he asked me to work with him on those EPs was because he said he liked my conviction. He said that's the thing that attracted him as a multi-instrumentalist and record producer to my work. So I encourage people to check those out. But then the other thing is my mum went away. I don't know. The answer is I don't know, but here's two anecdotes. The second anecdote about my mum. The first one about Stephen Smith. Shout out to Stephen. And he also recorded the vocals for Community and Virtue Signaling, the MAMMAL song. So he's got a little MAMMAL connection there. And then the other one was my mum went on holiday and she found this. It was like a bracelet, like a thing for your wrist, and it had like beads and written in Icelandic, I think it was. I'm pretty sure of that actually. It had these sort of in their language, and then you flipped it over, it said energy. And mum got that for me. She was like, that's you. You just always, when you do the enthusiasm as well. So, but the rage and the anger and the conviction about the politics that you hear is born of how degrading, like the fact that it is that I live in a society that where single mums are sleeping in their cars with their kids, how degrading it is that we live in a society where people can't see a doctor because there's none in their area, when there's super yachts and there's private jets. And I don't shy away from the fact that it's not okay. It's actually causing suffering. And then you've got laid onto that the trillions of dollars that pour into destroying people's homes in war, and the famine, and again the refugees, the depravity, the sickness of it all. I really do believe we need to change it and fix it, because it's demeaning. Because, you can be a nihilist and say that nothing matters, and that is true. The universe will eventually collapse on itself in entropy, and you and I, none of us fucking matter. But you can also be an absurdist and layer whatever fucking meaning you want with joy and empathy and love and all the best shit, because we're not going to do the other shit. We're not going to do the hate. We're not going to do the fucking hunger. That's not how we roll. Like as people throughout history, we generally get shit done. And so you can layer that meaning onto it. And so I layer the meaning onto, why should a refugee child not be in school but be in prison? That gives my life meaning, to try and fix that, or to try and at least raise that issue as one issue, and out of fighting for gay marriage, so my sister could marry her wife Michelle. Wonderful wedding, that sort of thing. Like it really fucking pisses me off, and I like smashing bastards.
Yeah, agreed. Awesome. This is great. Now you've got, as you mentioned there, we mentioned a couple of times, you got the tour coming up for this album there, which is really exciting. Like, I'm glad we were able to catch this now, so that we know the shows are coming up, so we can be there.
It is so fucking funny to me that you guys, two guys like you, cool dudes. Clearly, you love your tunes to the point where you've got a podcast. I didn't know you guys, but I just can't believe that in your travels, particularly with your love of the heavy, that you haven't come across at least one MAMMAL track. That's amazing. It's
wild. Like, I've got, and I think my thing, like, I had always been interested in metal, but was very ignorant to a lot of the Australian metal scene until about sort of 2008, when I started actually working with Kazzy and what would eventually become Tensions Arise, and we didn't start gigging until 2010. But even then, like, when we started getting out and about with stuff, it was like the local Sydney scene rather than the sort of the more like Australia-wide scene as such. And then,
it's good you started local.
And
I remember Full Scale and Carnival, talking about your journey, just starting in that real, like that absolute micro scene. I remember Full Scale, Carnival, jamming at the White Sands for both of our first gigs, and it was just Drew and Kenny were the only two that still survived in Carnival. And Drew was on bass and Kenny was on vocals, and then the rest was all mixed up. And I remember those days when the only thing that mattered at that stage with those first projects we had was those we were doing it with.
Yeah.
We just picked up, it was just mates coming to see you at the first, then more and more people clicked on. But it was so much fun driving each other. I reckon it's really smart, focus, act local, think global, but act local.
Yeah,
That
and
was
like,
the thing. We were too busy trying to get on those spots that you were dominating.
Well, it might have been our booking agent. It might have been our booking agent.
Look,
By the way,
and
it was the booking agent done half the work. The music's got to be fucking good to get the spot.
Live show in that case, but yeah. So you were saying about the tour though, Raff?
Yes, yeah, that's coming up. So you guys have got it's sort of East Coast and Adelaide from what I can see here on your website there. So 19th of July at Max Watts in Melbourne, 20th of July at Metro Social in Sydney, 2nd of August at Unibar in Adelaide, and then bringing it home, well, not bringing it home, but bringing it up my way on Saturday the 3rd of August at the Bright Side up in Brisbane. So if people are, wanting to catch you guys, like, they need to get out to these shows, because, I mean, I'm going to absolutely be there. Kyle's going to be there. Yeah. Like, seeing you guys live, I feel like it's going to be unreal. Well, real, because something is very real. It
will be real.
But I'm excited because from what I've even before speaking to you, like as Kyle said, the conviction and the passion comes through very, very clearly in the music. One thing that I struggle with a lot is seeing local bands live or seeing Australian bands perform live, and then you go and listen to their stuff and you're really excited for it, and it sounds so flat. It sounds like, and part of that's the production side. I do understand that, but there's like the energy that they're bringing from the stage doesn't translate to the recordings, and it can kill the vibe a little bit.
It makes sense. It makes sense, doesn't it? Because you first you learn your instrument, you want to be a songwriter, you want to be a band, so you get that shit together, and you're just killing it live. You're young, you're full of energy, you're tight, you rehearse, you do all the right things. So then you need to find people who are engineers. Like, because I've had Forrester, Full Scale Reflection made their first album in the year 2000, and Forrester produced it and was in the band at the time. Forrester's been gone and done Carnival, Dead Letter Circus, MAMMAL, Helmet. He's just done the new Bear McCreary album with Serge Tannigan and Corey Taylor on it. The guys killed it. So you can see it's hard to transfer. It's hard to find an engineer and a producer who can grab whatever you've got. It could be trying to capture the mellow of Massive Attack. That's an art. Or it could be trying to capture the intensity of MAMMAL. So there's that collaboration, again, to come back to the themes of the conversation. Collaboration and participation from different people will alter what you can achieve. It'll either shrink or raise your bandwidth within the project. And that's why you've got to be, the producer is super important, because they're conscious of what's crushing bandwidth and what's opening it up.
Yes.
And Jimmy Maruda, if anyone's looking for someone to do an album, it's hard to get, but he's an old friend, so we get a bit of mates treatment. But he's just amazing. Worked with the Avalanches, The Living End, UMI, Tim Rogers, MAMMAL. He's done so much stuff, and he's just the sweetest bloke. And on top of that, he's a facilitator, he's a mediator, he's a collaborator. He's just biggest far. His heart as big as Farlap. Jimmy Maruda, get around him.
That's the thing, man. To go back to what you said before, every band does the right. For the bands that do the right thing, and do the work in the rehearsal studios and get ready, right? Get that sick live show down. You think you are the sickest fucking live band on earth, and then you get humbled so quick the first time you record with a proper producer. You get fucking humbled, and you learn. Like if you don't walk out of that thing. If any band doesn't walk out of their first recording experience with a proper producer humbled and rethinking the way they approach music in general, you have learnt nothing.
Yeah. I mean, if they've got a good one, I would agree. If someone who challenges them, and that's right. But it's a totally different format, right? It's moving. And so it's learning. If you want to, some bands, don't worry about MAMMAL. Debuted, our first long player was live at the Evelyn, the All Underground Volume 1. And then we had our second live album until the penny dropped. Yeah, that was smooth.
It was.
We had 2 live albums and 1 studio album, so we actually had more live albums. And we also had a full live performance at PBS, which you can get a B-side of on the Slave single, which will be selling at the gig. So there's all we've always, as a band, but then it depends on the project. MAMMAL, like, you can't believe you guys haven't seen it live. You're going to love it. I have like new costumes that I'm building at the moment, and that's something that we bring. I don't know if you've seen any of the headwear and the general sort of just insanity of the show. We try to give it a bit of razzle dazzle. It's pretty simple, you're in the business when you're a live band, and we harness that. We embrace that. My music theatre training, my first degree before my law degree was in a Bachelor of Arts in Musical Theatre. So then I went into MAMMAL. I did that for like a year and a half. Same with musical. So I did TV and film, and I'm an actor, singer, dancer kind of thing. So trained in ballet and also trained in the dramatic arts. So we've always really embraced that sort of expertise that I bring, and tried and definitely use that as something which, we got the music down, but then if you can make the visuals and the whole thing a little bit more fun, then it's something for people to remember you by.
We say it all the time. We say it all the time here. Like making good music is not enough, and especially these days. Like there's 1,000 good bands I can go and see that write good music, right? How are you going to stand out? That's my thing, is bands need to know how they're going to stand out from the crop and how they're going to be unique and memorable. And, look, as I said, I'm excited for the live show. It helps that the music, you guys, is like top tier. Like you guys are bringing top tier tunes anyway.
We could get away without
and you guys could absolutely be one of those bands that does get by on the strength of the songs alone and the performance alone. But I think you clearly you're someone that's very passionate about the visual side of the performance. And as you say, it's a performance. It's show business. It's you're just, and you, like, I can tell you're just as excited and passionate about that element, and not just the doing of it in the moments of the performance, but the building it and the creating it. And the planning all those elements is a very, I know from my own experience, is a very fun process. Like being in Nuclear Vision, like we are a very, like our whole thing is like we've got the masks and we've got the outfits that we're on, and like the story and the theming around it all is, so much. Creating that is a lot of fun. And so many, I mean, and I'm sure you'd understand, like so many people don't really understand the effort that goes in behind the scenes with that either. But the layperson will understand it and will enjoy it on one level, versus like other creatives often will enjoy it on a completely different level.
It's so cool, like like reinventing spaces, and telling stories, or just making people move together, making people scream their lungs out. If you did that in the office, they call HR. Giving people a space where we can get back to what, like those anthropological roots that I spoke about earlier, where we get to celebrate within whatever tribe we choose. And certainly I want to make sure that we get out there that you're always welcome to MAMMAL Show. We just don't have fascists at our shows. You can hold reasonable conservative positions, you can hold reasonable left-wing positions, but come on down, you'll be safe. We always look after our crowd, and our crowd looks after each other. We just don't like people that like licking boots basically at our shows, because there's none of that going on. And there won't be.
You're the wrong show, buddy.
So, but also I wanted to mention just a bit of an update for fans. Like if you're in Sydney, you want to get in quick. That one is selling hard. Melbourne, same thing. You want to get in quick. Brisbane always goes well for us, and that's a slightly smaller venue than I think we played last time. And last time we were up in Brisbane at the Zoo, we sold it out. Rest in peace, the Zoo.
Rest in peace, the Zoo.
And then Adelaide, like come on Adelaide. Like this is Ezekiel Ox from MAMMAL down the barrel of the camera. We put the show on because every time someone puts up a tour, Adelaide and Perth always complain that no one goes there. So Adelaide needs to step up to the plate. Come to the party. We're at the mini bar there on the 2nd, and you are behind. You're still booking tickets, but there's definitely a lot of you coming in Adelaide. But we just want to see you step it up. Like let's pump those up. They're rookie numbers. Let's pump up those numbers.
Yeah, that's it, mate.
Yes,
that's it.
Definitely. So go out and buy your tickets. If you're watching this and you haven't bought your tickets and you want to get to the end of the show, buy them ahead of time. It's good to see shows that are moving tickets and selling out, because if there's a lot of shows that don't, and for a while, obviously, we didn't have these opportunities to go and see shows. So support the bands that are out there putting on the shows. Support the venues that we still have while we've got them. Don't sit there and say like, "Oh yeah, I remember when I used to go to the Zoo all the time." Right? Well, no one's going to the Zoo anymore. No. So don't make it used to. Make it I do go.
Yeah, post-pandemic as well. Remind yourself of the thrills you can get out of it. It's because I get it. Like one of the worst things, but the fairest things that happened in the pandemic is that introverts. It became like unacceptable socially to bully introverts into coming out, right? And we used like I'm just this massive extrovert. Like I would talk to you guys for 5 hours if you'd have me, right? So, but like I just love having a chat. I'll talk to people at the bus stop. I'll talk to people at the tuck shop. I don't care. And so, but then introverts used to be able to go, oh, come on, Dave, because Dave would be like, I just want to sit home and play my video game. And you used to be able to sort of, all the friends group would like get around and go, do it, come out, like face your anxiety. And people are now much more aware of mental health and stuff, which I think is really unfortunate. I shouldn't say that. I don't mean it. I'm being glib, but try to think also like about just taking that step. So risking it, like I did last night, going out in the pissing rain. It was the most brutal drive from Lake Macquarie to Sydney, right? But we booked the tickets to Jim Owen, me and Samantha, and going there, and it fulfills it. You commune with people. In that case, it was laughter. At MAMMAL Show, it's going to be dance, chant. It's going to be fist pumping, all those things you might want to do. If that's your thing, if you like getting your groove on in a super sexy, super funky, super diverse, super accepting crowd that is just got the best riffs and the best beats, then MAMMAL's the show for you. So remind yourself, if you've been stuck, sorry to quote Scott Morrison, under the doona, then maybe that effort to face it will pay off with something really special. And with a MAMMAL show, I can pretty much guarantee you'll get something like that out of it.
That's awesome. I mean, I've been getting a lot of that this year. Like I've found that when I'm in a band or bands, and I'm doing a lot of shows with the bands that I'm in, I find that going out to other people's shows feels like work in a lot of ways, right? Because I'm like, I'm mentally, I'm like when I'm playing one of my shows, mentally I go into like work mode because I'm at work, I'm doing a job, I've got a job to do, right? And I find it can be hard to switch that. I've found it in the past very hard to switch that off when I'm at shows that are not mine. I'm out at a show, I'm in that mindset, right?
There's also the critical thinking that happens when you start making your own songs and music.
Yes,
it ruins that pre-proficiency.
It does.
As you gain proficiency in the craft, you then start every single time you see someone perform or sing a song, you're analysing the lyric, you're analysing the chords, you're analysing how they're performing. Do you have silly costume? And it on some level, it's like lost innocence. It's like that bite of the apple that you take to say, I want to be a part of this crazy fucking world, being an artist, but then you lose the ability to ever really enjoy it ever.
We peeked behind the curtain. We liked what we saw. We went behind the curtain and we've ruined the magic.
Yep. Yeah.
I've got a question for you. I've got a question for you guys. What band in the last, say, 5 years has thrown that curtain back down? I'm going to give you mine. Has there been, as you've gotten older, as you've got more experience, because it still happens for me, but it happens less frequently as I get older, where something busts through. And I'll go with mine first, so I give you some time and give the audience a basic description of why. A band called Stray from the Path from Long Island in New York, absolutely phenomenal. And I was running around the house with my 1,000-watt Fender PA cranked like a teenager, headbanging and like screaming the lyrics. And I couldn't fault what they were doing, and it just took me over. So that does still happen for me, but it's rare. Yeah, and if anyone hasn't heard Stray from the Path yet, get around it.
Ooh, if I could give you my Stray from the Path.
Stray from the Path.
I'd have two.
I'm adding those to my list now.
I'd probably say Periphery.
Yep.
With that whole concept of having three guitarists, their drummer is just an absolute phenomenal beast, and Spencer is just something that I never heard before vocally. That really, when that genre of gent, whatever people call it, that put the curtain back down for me, because I'd never heard it before, and I'm just like, cool, I'm not peeking behind this curtain. I'm not involved I wasn't really involved in bands or music or anything like that so much anymore. So I'm just like, it put me back in my place. and then bands like Electric Callboy and stuff like that, the ones that really threw.
Interesting, because I haven't seen. I don't know. I've listened to Electric Callboy, probably a couple of songs while watching them on YouTube, because they came out and did a tour. I think it was Good Things, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Might have
and
been,
and every city that went to, a lot of my connections online, the feedback I was seeing, whether it was commenting on posts or whatever, I just post, was saying Electric Call were a killer. So that's interesting. They just keep getting good reviews around me, those guys. Maybe I need to go do a bit of a deeper dive.
Well, we just did a reaction. We just did a reaction to that new song they did with Baby Metal that's just come out, and we love. Like, I think it was the first song we've done a reaction to that we gave 11 out of 10.
Right.
Where we gave it like
I've never really, Baby Metal's never really done it for me. Never really got it. So I'm interested to hear that.
It's I mean, and everyone gets on a different vibe, and that's the beautiful part about music, Like we even had, like, we loved this new one that they did. The last song of theirs that we did a reaction for, we were not quite as keen on, but like, I've been a fan of their first couple of albums, in a major way, and then the one they did with Tom Morello, I was kind of like, I feel like it kind of wasn't. It just didn't really click the same way as some of their other stuff, and people
were expecting a lot more Morello.
And then now the new one.
Morello's just gone through this, between the Night Watchman, Rage's live shows, which sort of came back and stuttered, and then, Street Sweeper Social Club, all that solo. Yeah, Prophet of Rage, exactly. He's just been so fucking prolific. Like, I like to think of myself, between, MAMMAL, Full Scale, Super Heist, The Nerve, Ox and the Fury, like, that's prolific. But he's just pumping it out for a guy who would be, I mean, you could probably, you could think he could sit back and rest on his laurels a bit, but kind of like Springsteen, who he ended up joining the band for, he's just kept going harder and harder, which I think is really cool. What about you, Raff? Any band that's made you just switch off the analytical mind?
Wait, sorry. So when you mentioned Super Heist there,
I just caught that.
I was a singer for Super Heist from 2016 through to.
Holy fuck! I have seen you before. I have seen you with them.
I've been sitting here this whole time going, "You look. I know you. I know you."
Super Heist at the basement in Canberra.
You guys are great. You guys are hilarious.
Super Heist at the basement in Canberra. I have seen you perform there.
But that was only the comeback. Like,
yes.
So Richie DW, who was obviously with Berger and Joey, I was the third vocalist, and then they've gone on to release an album after I left. I did two full-length albums with them, and then other stuff.
That was it. But yes, to get to the question that you asked there. So, this is a band that I stumbled across. I mean, look, I came across their stuff about almost 10 years ago now, but they have. But my passion and the excitement that I get and the enthusiasm I have for listening to them has not waned one bit over that time. Black Tongue.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar. They're a UK band. They play, I think, what is called, I think the specific genre designation is something like down-tempo deathcore or something along those lines. But essentially it is super down-tuned. Like, I think their guitars are it's like drop D, but an octave lower than standard. Just very, like, really just like super low, very intense music with like some of it's fast and thrashy and whatever, and some of it's still very groovy and has djenty elements in there. And every time I listen to them, all I envision in my head is like this fucking like Cthulhu walking out of the sea. That's the energy that I get from it all the time. And no matter how many times I listen to it, it's the same every time, and I feel empowered when I listen to that music.
Yeah.
And if I ever need that, that's the stuff I go to, because something about it just hits in a way that a lot of other stuff I can see the seams on a lot of other stuff, even when I don't necessarily want to. But something like that, I listen to that and I just go, there's a magical quality about it that no matter how much I've engaged with it, I have never seen past. It's never waned. I've never grown tired of it. so that for me is like one of the bands that's really kind of done that. But this year, it's late last year through into this year, I've really found myself enjoying live shows a lot more. Just being there, being in the moment. I've actively tried to be less analytical, and just enjoying it in the way a layperson would going to a show. You know, that rather than someone that's been in it and done it myself. You know, and I went to Good Things, I went to Knotfest, I went to see Cold Chamber and Mudvayne. I got to see Infectious Grooves, you know, and actually fun band, by the way, band recommendation for you. Infectious Grooves was supported by a French duo called the Inspector Clouseau.
Yeah.
And they're this weird sort of like rock blues hybrid thing.
Cool.
Highly recommended. Highly recommended. But then going out to like local shows as well, and just the younger bands that are popping up these days, especially what I've seen in the Brisbane scene is crazy. The talent is probably more than I think I've ever seen in my whole time in the music scene in Australia. And they know the business like we never did back in the day.
Yeah, they're consuming less alcohol as a cohort. We see that in the data going through. They're woke. They don't give a fuck who you're fucking. They just give a fuck where you're coming from. They've grown up in a world of infinite YouTube tutorials on whatever genre they want to fucking mash together. They can learn to play the sitar. The kids are fucking coming, and they are coming to you and me, 100%. So yeah, and good luck to them. Good luck to them.
I'd like to thank them all because I didn't have to wait at the bar at all last night. I just pretty much rolled in and just walked straight up every time. And mate, you're doing some fine work because back in the day when I was going, you used to go up there and order these fandangle cocktails, and I could be standing there 20 people deep, and you'd order this bloody thing and.
But there's also what Beer Buddy's just raised is that how do the venues now make money? So as the culture changes, then the venues are struggling with higher costs, and there is a downturn. And also,
they just sting the ones that do now because I paid I think it was like $10 or $12 a schooner last night. So it's just like,
but the thing with that is too, like you've got even people that are going to see the band, but because of cost of living, they're not blowing out like they used to. So people aren't having as big a nights even if they wanted to. So there's all these other issues, like the cost of living, housing crisis, the rental crisis, you could say, or even just mortgages and stuff like that. That is absolutely gouging families. And you know, our fan base coming from, like you said, 2006-07, is of that age where they've probably got a couple of kids, a lot of them, and a dog and a car, and so. It's been, it'll go through cycles, but we've tried to keep the costs down. We've had to, we've kept our tickets what we think is really reasonable. But
$51 for 3 bands at the Metro on what was it, a Saturday night? Yeah. I'm keen.
But we also acknowledge that could be out of reach for a lot of people, you know, and that's tough because we need to basically make sure that the time we spend away is not killing us because we're all family men as well. Or which pay
of course. Yeah. It's so it's yeah. I mean, look, I work in, you know, I work in the finance industry in like a debt management company that like helps people that are in financial difficulties. Like we liaise with their creditors and try and get, you know, fair arrangements in place and things like that. So I see it all. It's like all day, every day. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm talking to. That's the people that I'm, you know. And it is the same story across the board. It's, you know, interest rates going up, rents are going up, cost of living's going up everywhere. Like I'm scrimping and saving, and I'm talking to these people, and we're going over their budget, and most of them are not throwing a lot of money away on needless stuff. It's literally the essentials needed to survive.
Yeah, can I remind you guys if it hasn't earwormed yet? There's a lyric on the 2 pre-choruses to the song "The Penny Drop" on the titular song, "The Penny Drop" from MAMMAL's new album. It goes, "The system's broken. You tell me now, system's broken." And then you think, okay, like you hear that a lot. You hear people say, "Oh man, the system's broken," and I think I see where they're coming from, right? Like 100%.
No, it's working as intended.
Yeah, and the next pre-chorus goes, "The system works fine for the banks and the billionaire slime. The system works fine. Now keep it down, would you?" So, like, what you're identifying is that it is working as intended, as we just established, and it's fucking ridiculous. The transfer of wealth, the gap, the inequality that's growing in wealth, the just absolute crony kleptocracy that's going on with capitalism, late stage capitalism, is just fucking ridiculous. Absolutely stupid. It's just unacceptable, and it shall not stand. The empire shall fall.
Yes, let's hope. Let's make it happen. So let's move on to our first segment there, and we will dive into the quick question quarter.
Quick question quarter.
Ladies and gentlemen, yes, it is time for the quick question quarter. That is spelt with Q's, not K's, because we don't roll like that. And this is some rapid fire questions here for Zeke. And we're just going to fire through these real quick. They start out easy. They do get a little more involved as it gets further on. But
Can I say before we launch, my mum, if you're watching, Ann Ox, if you're out there, love your mum. She loves Mastermind. I feel like this might be my turn in the hot seat. So let's go, boys.
All right, let's see how we go. What was the first instrument that you learned to play? Keep in mind vocals counts as an instrument.
So, vocals. My first lessons were in singing.
Awesome. What was the first album that you ever purchased?
Does the single first piece of vinyl I purchased for my own money?
Yeah, we'll count that. Yep.
It was Like a Prayer, the single by Madonna.
Good choice. The first live concert you attended?
First live concert it would have been the Port Fairy Folk Festival. So I went to that 9 years in a row. So it was a festival, and you'd see everything from Yothit Yindi to Red Gum to Eric Bogle, the Goanna Band. It was pretty good. So that would be the first concert. First concert I went to that wasn't a festival was Bob Dylan in 92 at the Palais in St Kilda.
Wow.
And he was stoned off his head passing joints around the stage. And I said to my dad, I was 12, I said, Dad, why do they keep passing their cigarettes around?
The happy sticks.
What's an instrument you've always wanted to learn but haven't yet?
Jeez. It's a really good one. It'd be fucking sick to be able to just wail on a sax. I reckon. Yeah. That would be the one. I reckon just to be able to just walk up and just go like Clarence Clements it, that'd be so good.
Good choice there. All right. If you could pick one big band for MAMMAL to open a show for, now this is anyone, living or dead, active or not, whatever point in their career you would want to pick, any big artist to open a show for, who would it be?
Rage Against the Machine.
Awesome. Love that. I was supposed to see them last year, actually. When I went to America for a trip, I had a ticket booked for their show, and then it got canned because of his injury, and now they're gone.
Yeah.
You kind of mentioned one before in Stray from the Path, but who is a band or an artist that you're listening to at the moment that you believe is underrated and deserves more attention?
There's a band from the UK. They're a two-piece called Bob Villain. And they are absolutely phenomenal. They're like this grime, punk, two-step, raga, it's grindy. It's really good, and the MC is fantastic. So Bob Villain, spelled Vylan. It's absolutely, you'll really enjoy it. And lyrics, if you're into lyrics.
Bob Villain. All right, going to add them to the list for sure. All right, what is something people may be surprised to learn about you?
Maybe that thing I said before, like I'm a lawyer on the New South Wales Supreme Court role.
That's fucking bad.
I work in the with the Aboriginal Legal Service here in New South Wales in the Awabakal region, and we do work with women and their children, trying to keep them safe, and also outreaching communities to try and get better outcomes for people that are experiencing or have experienced domestic or family violence. Or any issue really, but often that's a starting point for homelessness and other issues for women and children, and that's who we specifically focus on. So that may be something, but it's in line with what I do with the band. It's all about sort of trying to fix things in a way, or trying to make things better, not fix it. And I'm super proud to work for them. Yeah. So the fact that I can stand before a judge and blah blah blah, maybe that.
Okay. And if people want to reach out to that organisation, where can they?
Just go to the website, just type in Aboriginal Legal Service New South Wales /ACT, and on the first page it'll say donate. If you want to reach out to us, unless you're an Indigenous person with a legal issue, in which case Google Aboriginal Legal Services New South Wales and call us and we'll triage you through there. But if you're not, then donate, because that's what we need. We're severely underfunded. We've had to withdraw certain resources from certain local courts, which is leaving legal aid lists absolutely blowing out. It's a major funding crisis for Indigenous people at the moment, and Indigenous people, we're overrepresented in the New South Wales prison system. About 30% of prisoners are Indigenous, and about 3% of citizens are Aboriginal, and I think that might be society's fault in some ways, and we're sort of focused on trying to keep blackfellas in community and also where possible with their kids, and we're safe in community and we're safe with their kids. So I'd encourage people to be an ally to that organisation, because there can be no justice on stolen land, and the justice system that I've learnt and that I have sworn an oath to assist is delivering some pretty unjust outcomes overall for certain groups in our community, and it's a disgrace. It's a national disgrace, and we need to fix it up.
Okay, and last question here. Very curious to see this one. Now, you can interpret this question any way that you like. What is your worst music sin?
Sin. My worst music sin. Well, I think it's loaded. Well, I'll come up with an answer, but I'd like to say the question's slightly loaded because I don't know about the concept of sin, and I certainly don't know about it with music. I think that's because there's immediately, and I'm not saying for a second this is you, but Raff, but there's a gatekeeping. I hate gatekeeping. Like the idea that someone goes, "Oh, you did that. That makes you like this." It's like, and so I think if you're playing music, then you're in exactly the right spot. Just play from your heart, just whatever makes you happy, and stick with that, because you're not beating up old ladies to their handbags or whatever other options you have to get through life. But I will say probably mine would be, I just fucking hate reggae, and like I fucking hate it, like to the point where someone like a song like Three Little Birds by Bob Marley, right?
Yeah.
Like, what a fucking song. Like I get how good that song is, but I only ever listen to it when it comes on, which is regularly, thankfully. And I get the song, but I can't wait for it to finish. I just think I just hate, and reggae is, you got what, country, reggae, metal, they're all massive genres. It's not like so.
You know what? That's exactly how I feel about Tool. I get it. I appreciate it. Just can't wait for the song to end.
And I bet that opinion, Beer Buddy, has caused you as many arguments at parties as my opinion.
But you know how dominoes fall, right? Once one person vocalizes it, all of a sudden, you're the pillar of the community. And once I did it, other people like,
thank God someone finally said it.
It's okay not to like Tool. It's okay.
I have a theory. I have a Tool. There's unified Pixar theory and theories, right? Because I have a similar thing with you with Tool. I think it's the fan base that does it for me. It's the and it's the overall seriousness of it. I think is probably not quite in line with what I do, but that's okay. It's a broad church and there's something for everybody. But I think Maynard, my thing with Tool is like the song Hooker with a Penis, the song on Lateralis that goes, "This is what you want, and this is what you had in mind," that one. And then whatever that's called, it's Ticks and Leeches, I think it might be called. And then there's The Pot. Those three songs from those three albums, which to me is peak Tool, that's when Maynard actually tells us who he is. And it's fuck you. I've got an ego as big as fucking Ayers Rock. That's okay. That's okay. Ego's not a dirty word. The Skyhook sorted that out. That's cool. You can have an ego. You got to just set your mind, right? I get it. But he wants to tell you. He wants to fucking judge. And there's the people getting washed away in an earthquake on Arnhem as well. He's got this real cynical view of the world, which when he expresses it by saying, you point your finger up your ass, or it's a kangaroo court in the pot, or this is what you're getting. I hope you like about comeuppance. When he expresses it in a pure way, I find it fucking compelling. I love it. It's like I will listen to those songs. Yeah. But when he wafts off about journeys into fucking outer space and spirituality, it just doesn't fucking hit me, because I just don't give a fuck.
That's where I feel like my favorite song from Maynard is not a Tool song. It's I think A Perfect Circle is the band, because I know he's got a few.
Yeah.
The song Judith, yeah.
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 What song?
Three Libras for me.
It's
I love that
just there's
song.
just, I mean, I am someone that has gone, you know, throughout the different stages of my life, various different sort of explored various different religions, you know, things as to try and make sense of the world, and yeah, just yeah, as someone that's look, I was never in a.
It speaks to your struggle with theology. You know, the ideas.
Yes, yeah. Like I was never in a situation or where I was in like a super religious household, or you know, I did go to, for a lot of my schooling, I went to like a Christian school. It was never like super hardcore like to for me at all, but it was always like, well, you know, as a kid, I'm like, okay, I want to be a good person. I want to do this, and then this says this is a way I can be a good person. But there's too many there's too many questions. I have questions. Does that make me a bad person for having these questions? And going, you know, I struggled with that for a very long time, and I looked into you know, various sort of other things, and now, you know, I've arrived at a place where I am an ordained minister in the Universal Life Church, but that's purely so that I could be, partly so I could have Reverend in front of my name as an official legal title.
Yeah, right on your airplane ticket and shit. I like that.
Yeah.
See, that's just fun. That's fun, right?
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with fun.
But yeah, so it's that's why I connect a lot with that song in particular.
Hang on. If you're a reverend in this church, come on, hit me with the 30-second elevator pitch. Why should I join? What was it? The Universal
Life Church.
Why should I join?
Because you can have a title like Reverend of Rock.
That's a fucking. You
can officiate weddings, and you can, you know, like if your friends want someone that can do that, you can. Yeah,
that's cool.
You can do that as a lawyer, can't you?
I'm going to be not as a lawyer, but I am going to become a celebrant because I want to do weddings and funerals. I think I could really help people, and the idea would be, this is the joke, Beer Buddy, to your point about lawyers, that sort of distinction of being able to witness documents and having that sort of officialdom in the Constitution, right? If I become a celebrant, right, I could marry you, and then I could MC the ceremony, the reception, play the music at the reception, and then when it all goes pear-shaped, I can also divorce you.
Yeah,
you got the whole package.
You could even JP the certificate.
A one-stop shop.
20% off if that's the case.
Oh, 20%. There you go. You heard it here first.
Yeah. Come to me for your marriage, and then you'll get 20% off your divorce.
I don't think.
I could see you being that real crass. That like you can quite clearly see this isn't going to work out, and you just slip the husband your card.
Oh no! There's actually a thing in family law which I'd encourage anyone who's dealing with separation, and I mean this like it's not advice, it's not legal advice, but there's this interesting concept that people should consider, which is called collaborative law. When, particularly in family law and particularly in business disputes between partnerships, where people are seeing the damage that litigation does, that going to court and flinging mud and having to raise evidence is doing to what can be quite profitable businesses where 50 grand's gone missing, right? And there's a dispute, or could be quite a fruitful relationship that's produced these amazing kids and all this property that needs to be sorted out. And instead of going and slinging all the mud and tearing it all apart, collaborative law is giving families and business, mainly commercial interests, a chance to have their own solicitors, but cut off litigation as a possibility, which immediately creates more outcomes where disputes are settled with alternative methods. And I think that's a really good way to look at the law. You're not, as a solicitor, I don't like to think of it always as a fight. You've got to be willing to fight if you need to as a solicitor for your client. But often the best thing to do is to not do that. So, but that's just probably a more serious note on what I was saying about becoming a celebrant. But so you could marry people. So there is no theology. You're not selling me there's no there was a dude called Garsnar, and Garsnar came down from the mountain and he said that rock is God. Right? Okay, cool.
The Universal Life Church basically exists not quite in the same way as the Satanic Temple does, but
it's a meme.
It's sort of it's a way that people can become ordained and have titles and be ordained to have a religious title and can do weddings, and they sell they sell like all the stuff to do for officiate weddings and all the stuff you'll
You
need.
get some
and
training.
More
Yeah,
for
cool.
the
That's cool.
You do all that as well, and you get yeah. So, but yeah, that's why I work with the title Reverend Raff, because it's it's an official legal title. So, all right. Well, look, let's take it home. Let's take it home. We won't worry about the other one because I know you got dinner waiting. You've spent enough time.
Give me the other one. I got time.
You sure? All right, cool. Let's go for Get in the Bin.
Come on, if you want to fight.
Oh, come on then.
Get in the bin.
Are you enjoying the weather there, mate? What? Are you enjoying the weather there?
So very, very quickly, we'll go through this. This is Get in the Bin, where our amazing guest is going to give us 3 things from the music business that he would get in the bin. He would fuck off out of the place, eliminate them entirely. Without further ado, what was the first thing that you would get? First thing you would put in the bin, and why?
I would put in the bin. I think if you're a venue that is operating a live music venue 5 or more nights a week, you should be subsidised by the government under what would be an arts grant going to the business. I would take out insurance costs for venues, and I would make sure that was at least for now we could get back to the point where we had a massive overhead for venues, so we can have more live music. That would be the first thing. The second thing would be really being aware of the history that we've seen come out around Dennis Hanlon from Sony, the history we've seen come around Weinstein in the States. Be really aware of your behaviour. Old times are old, new times are new. The kids are coming and they are right. And I think blokes need to make sure that they're not using phrases like the chick band anymore. I think it is really important that we have a really diverse and inclusive scene that based on a participation model. If you want to participate in the music community, if you want to participate in the music sort of scene, then you should be able to, as long as you're upholding those sorts of values of inclusion. And that sort of leads me to, I'd remove the name, and the third one is I'd get rid of the word music business, and I would start calling it the music community, the music. You can have a scene. I don't mind a scene. I like to think MAMMAL always sits outside of scenes. Like we're not necessarily prog, but that's just more back to MAMMAL. But I like whatever however you do it. Start a zine, write an article about a band you're passionate about. Start a podcast if you're passionate about music. Start a band. Pick up an instrument. Get a kazoo. Write some lyrics, get yourself out there, or don't. Just do it in your bedroom because it fucking feels good. I don't really care why. Music will change your life in a positive. It will give you a sense of belonging to something that is as old as humans. Like we're talking tens, eons and eons of people practicing this art. So yeah, it's not a business. It's a vocation, and it's something to do whether we're making money or not. I encourage everyone to do that. Do it for the love of it.
Awesome.
As humans,
awesome.
That's what we're built to do. We're built to create. We're built to be creative.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing a niche genre in a country that has a relatively small population, and we're all very, very spread out. That makes it really hard to do it, and we're not doing it for the money. We're always especially in Australia, we can really only ever do it for the love of it. Because if we didn't love it, it wouldn't be worth all the effort that goes into it. So,
no, God, no.
That's one of the reasons that I think, and I've said it before. Like I think that the fact that that Aussie bands go into it for the most part with the expectation of we're not going to make it in the way of like becoming megastars of the industry or anything, that almost allows for a purity of the art form in Australia in a way that you don't necessarily get in a lot of other ways.
I don't know if there's a lot of that in the MAMMAL van, Raff. I think MAMMAL's always focused on becoming the hardest rocking, biggest band in the world. We reckon there's some life left of old legs, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
mate. With this,
and I'm not saying you shouldn't strive for it. I'm not saying you shouldn't strive for it. I'm just saying I think a lot of Australian bands accept the reality that things are what they are, and the likelihood is extremely low. So if they're gonna make it, they're gonna make it on the merit of what they're doing. They're gonna make it doing it their own way, and that lends a purity to it.
The MAMMAL lyric, we're going to do it our way on Hit Me. on the song "Hit Me" from the album. We're gonna do it our way. We're gonna.
There you go.
The chorus is oh, I just got an update on my diabetes. I need to take some insulin.
Cool. All right. Well, look, we'll wrap it up then. We'll let you go. So the penny drop
you have
is out
something
now.
else?
No. That was it. That's everything.
Yeah.
Man. We'll let you go. So yeah, the penny drop is out now on all the platforms. Go and check it out.
I just want to apologize. I just want to apologize for cutting it short because of my chronic autoimmune disease. It's going to get me.
No, that's okay. That's okay. And the tour is happening.
To see you at the tour.
Yes,
that is most important.
The tour is happening. So 19th of July.
After my diabetes, you won't.
19th of July at Max Watts. 20th of July at Metro. Sorry, Max Watts in Melbourne. 20th of July at Metro Social in Sydney. Friday the 2nd of August at Unibar in Adelaide. Saturday the 3rd of August at the Brightside in Brisbane. Get out there to those shows. Buy your tickets now. Sell those out, especially Adelaide. And go and listen to the album. It's a fucking banger. Every song is absolutely killer. And yeah, just thank you so much, man. We really, really appreciate you spending the time talking to us tonight. And literally anytime you want to come back, we are more than happy to have you, my man.
Fantastic. For you anytime.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you both. And thanks so much for becoming, and it's just so exciting for us to know that there's real growth out there. We've seen it in the numbers, but to talk to a couple of the newbies and to know that you're about to get your faces melted off at your respective shows is exciting. So we're loving it, and thanks for having me. Thanks for listening to my rambles. And until next time, I encourage everyone to go to mammaltheband.com, or is it mammalband.com? I can't remember which. Just type in
mammalband.com.
Go to mammalband.com and go to our shop. Buy your t-shirt so you can turn up wearing it. Check out the lyrics. There's some stuff there if that's your thing. But just get around Mammal. And get around Two Guys Talking Music? Is that what it's called?
Two Dudes Talking Music.
Two Dudes. Get around the Two Dudes Talking Music. It's been great to be with you guys.
Amazing. Thank you so much, man. We will catch you next time and we will see you at the shows.
Peace.
Peace out, everybody.